All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm working on biology semester 2, activity 5.2.1, which was on natural selection. I chose to do this activity because some people I think, are getting confused on the wording used on what is the variation, what is the selection. And so I just kind of wanted to go through this and see if I could help some people out. Hopefully you can use this recording to help you when you get to this point in the course. So the question says, the peppered moth is found in England during the Industrial Revolution. Coal was used as the top fuel during this. The problem with coal is that it's very dirty and produces soot. The soot begins to cover the trees. Eventually the trees become darker. See the pictures on the right? Use the data below to explain what happened. So if we look at the pictures, we obviously have two different moths. We have a lighter colored moth and a dark colored moth on a tree. And then we're going to look at this other picture and we see a lighter colored moth and a darker colored moth on a tree with soot on it from the coal. So let's look at the data. It says percentage of each type of color in a population, light to dark. So in 1848, which was before the Industrial Revolution, 98% were light and 2% were dark. But in 1895, after the coal boomed and we have all this soot, now we have 95% are going to be dark colored moth and only 5% are going to be light colored moth. So the question states is, in the peppered moth scenario, what is the variation? So what is our variation between these two moths? I see they're the same size, the same shape, probably same weight, et cetera, probably the same flying because they look like the same species. The only difference I can see is the color. So the variation in this is the color between the two moths. Now, the selection. Selection means like which ones are going to be selected by the environment. So you could say that the selection is that the darker colored moths are going to survive and reproduce because they are able to blend in with their environment through a defense mechanism called camouflaging, where the light colored moths do not have that. So I would go ahead and put my answers in this box below. It says, what do you think would happen to the population of peppered moths once coal use decreased and the trees no longer were covered in soot? Okay, so let's take a look at the time here. Okay, we have a long time in between these two for this drastic of a change. Now, just because the Industrial Revolution starts to slow down, the coal stops being used as much, we're not going to see a drastic change. In adaptations, it takes organisms many, many years to adapt to their environment. So over time, we're going to see a closer amount, more and more of the light moths starting to survive and reproduce. And we're going to start seeing a gradual, and I mean very gradual, decrease in our dark moths. All right. I hope that helps you on that one. Eventually, over hundreds and hundreds of years, the selection is going to be, we want the light colored moths again, and the dark colored moths would not survive and reproduce as much. All right, it says there are two types of beetles, those that are brown and those that are green. The beetles have had babies all year long, but many are eaten by birds. The picture shows a progression of what occurs. So in this picture, we see green beetles and I would guess we would call them brown beetles. And then we see the bird eating a green one. And we look like we have one less green one over here and still less green, and we have a lot more of the brown reproducing. So what is the variation? Again, they look the same size, they look the same species, same weight, same eating, same everything looks the same. So the only variation we have here is going to be the color change. We have either green or we have brown beetles. And then it says which beetle is selected for. So according to the natural selection theory, what will happen to each color of the beetle? So the bird that's being selected, or the beetle that's being selected by the bird is the green one. My guess is that this is going to be in some type of environment where the green is going to stand out. So I wouldn't say we're at any type of like luscious grassland. We're going to be more maybe in a drier area that looks more brown and not so colorful. So our green beetles are going to stick out. So they are going to be the ones that are selected for. And so over time, according to our natural selection theory, the strong are going to survive and reproduce. So the ones that aren't getting eaten obviously are going to start surviving longer and reproducing, and we end up with more brown beetles. Now, if this changed, the environment changed due to climate change or different things like that, we could have some variation in those answers. This is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, because I've just noticed on some of our answers, we're just struggling with what is variation and selection. So remember, variation is just the thing that is changing, or the difference between the two organisms. And selection is what is being selected by the environment or not selected by the environment. I hope this helps, and I hope this is a nice short recording for you. If you get stuck on this activity, please feel free to reach out to me via chat, or to reach out to me via email, jenna.harper@graduationalliance.com. I am here to help you and get you through some of these activities. And I would love to hear from some of you. So have a great day. Thank you so much.